Welcome back to Superhuman Customs. I'm Stephen Human, and today we have something pretty fun. So I already have a Jon Kent figure. You guys saw months ago I had changed the eyes on him. You know, I did like regular eyes so it weren't the red eyes. Well, a few weeks ago, maybe 2 months ago, DC Comics announced that they were changing Jon Kent's costume and everybody in the Superman family other than Superman himself. And I really like that new costume. So I thought if I find another Jon Kent, I'm going to buy him and I'm going to make that costume. Now, the reason I'm able to do this is because of this guy right here. This is the wrestling figure whose head you'll remember we took and used for steel. And I had this guy and I was like, well, I don't know what I'm going to do with him. I'm just going to throw him in my extras box. But he has this coat. He has this jacket that comes off. Well, the new Jon Kent has a jacket just like this with a Superman sign. So we are going to make Jon Kent's new costume with this jacket. It's gonna be awesome. We're gonna put a Superman sign out here, pull that off of one of the other figures. This is gonna be great. I'm super excited. Let's go ahead and dive in.
First thing, we gotta get this jacket off this dude, which I haven't tried yet. So let's see if we can pull it off and see how this works. I mean, it's made to come off. Oh, there we go. Okay, so let's just get it off here. Come on, baby. There we go. All right. Arm number 2. That one should come off more easily, I would think. Maybe. Of course, I thought that when I did Max's when pulling off Joker's legs. There we go. Yay! I'm going to test and see what this jacket looks like on Jon. It's a little bit big. I pulled his arms off so that it would be easier to see. And so I think that will serve what we want, even though in the comic it's not quite that big. Maybe I'll trim it down a little bit, like right in here to open, because I want to keep it open on him. So I guess we're just gonna have to see. This is gonna be some more wonderful experimentation for us. All right, arms are on. It's a little bit bulky, but I'm going to trim off some of this stuff here, but I'm going to keep it open, but I think it's going to turn out looking pretty good. So we're going to put a Superman sign on the outside of the jacket because obviously in the new suit, he's got one on the inside and one on the outside. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this infected Superman that I've just kept as a placeholder. I put him on Superboy Prime's body. I've had him soaking for a few minutes in hot water, and the Superman side should just come off. The glue should be hot enough, and if it doesn't, well, I've got a knife to cut it out. So let's see where we're at. I don't know what I'm going to do with this guy still. The whole time I've been like, well, maybe I'll turn him into like a knight or something. I don't even know. But we're going to have to knife this guy out. All right, it took some effort, but we got it off, which makes me very happy. We've got our Superman sign. Woo! Next, we got to cut this Superman sign in half, which is a little nerve-wracking. Superman is a sacred thing. But we're going to have to cut it in half. So let's just go ahead and let's actually go this way. Boom. We got it. Double-sided Superman. Now we are going to glue this guy on like so it can be on both sides of the jacket. Now the jacket is looking pretty thick on him. So once we get the paint going on the body, the paint on the body, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut down here and cut out a section of the arms and the top and glue them together. I think that will make it so that it's a little bit less bulky on him, but we're going to have to see. So let's go ahead and get this guy glued. I'm just going to use super glue. All right, we cut out these ends, and it's not perfect. He still is a little bit baggy, but it definitely looks better. So we're going to go ahead and glue these on and continue. So Jon's new suit is gray as opposed to blue. So we're going to use this gunmetal Vallejo paint. It's gunmetal gray. And we're going to go over him just over the blue because he still has sort of the same shape when it comes to the S symbol as he does here. Now I chose this gunmetal because it's a nice gray, but it also has a little bit of a sheen to it, which is what I want. I want this to look a little bit metallic and to stand out a little bit. So we're just going to cover him. That's all we're going for, is just covering the blue, and then some of this will be red and this will be yellow instead. So we're going to go through and get this guy gray, which is an interesting choice for a Superman character because Jon in the new comic is still going to be Superman, just like his dad, Clark. So having him be gray and red is an interesting choice, for sure. And I'm excited to see how they pull it off in the coming months. So I think that gray is looking pretty good. I'll need to touch up in some areas once it's dry, and then we'll move on to the red, because he's got red stripes down his arms and down the side here. But I think this was a good choice in gray, because in the new artwork, the gray is a little bit, it's a different gray. It's not a deep gray. So I think this gunmetal was a good choice. While the body's drying, we're going to take some of this yellow Citadel paint, and we are going to paint the black portions here of his shield yellow, because he does have a standard yellow shield. Now, the shape of the shield in the new suit is a little bit different. It's more like the Electro Superman, because apparently he's going to have some electro powers at some point. I don't know. I don't have an electric symbol. I want it to be raised like how we put it here, so it's just going to be a regular Superman symbol. That doesn't bother me at all. So we're just going to go through here nice and slow, using the magnifying glass, and we're going to make this yellow. All right, this is going to take a couple of coats of the yellow, just because the plastic is a little bit of a softer plastic, and this is a, the paint is a little bit thinner, but it's going on pretty well. So we're going to let this dry, do a couple more coats, then it should be a nice bright yellow. But I'm loving how the reds match. I'm probably not even going to have to paint this. I was afraid I was going to have to paint the jacket, but these are really matching perfectly. Now it's time to experiment with the red. We're going to use some of this just Vallejo standard red color, and hopefully it matches what's already there. If not, I'm going to have to go and paint over the entire thing. I don't want to have to do that. So let's see how close it is. It looks pretty close. We'll have to wait and see when it dries. But so we're going to go hit all of these areas here and see once it's dry and the blue's not showing through just how close these two reds are. And I might have to go over everything, which I don't want to do. But if I have to, then I have to. There are worse things. So let's just get moving, get the coverage here and on the arms. And then we'll move back to the jacket and do the gray on there. Jon is looking real good. I think he's just, the colors are matching up beautifully. Now let's do the same to the jacket. Let's add some gray. We are using the same gunmetal, and we're going to try and form how it looks here on the jacket in that original image. And we're just going to, again, just like with the body, we're going to get coverage. That's what we're interested in, is getting this to look right. So we're going to go over here. We're going to go halfway down the arm and just keep things properly divided. This gunmetal is looking really, really nice on this. I think it's going to just, everything's going to sing. And then what I'm thinking about, well, I might experiment here in a little bit once this is all dry and go over with a light coating of either the wash just on this gray to darken it up, or do even just a light layer of black fabric paint to darken this up, particularly on the jacket. I don't know. We'll see how it looks. One thing I've decided to do with this jacket is that on the new suit, he's got a little bit of like almost a line here between the red and the gray. And so I'm just going to paint in a thin black line just to kind of accent that. I also think it'll make the gray look a little bit darker, which the more I'm looking at it, the more I think is the route that I want to go. But I'm not sure that the wash is the way to do it. So I'm just going to put in this nice thin black line all the way between the red and the gray. And I think that that might just do it and add enough contrast that it makes it look that the gray is a little bit darker. Because sometimes those little accents will actually do that really, really nicely. So yeah, I'm just going to go through and do this all there nice and carefully. And I won't bore you with the rest of it, but it will look like that once it's done. Like I always say, having the magnifying glass definitely makes this sort of detail work easier because it's not hard on my eyes. I'm not having to squint. I can sit back and I can still see it as if it's right in front of my face. Now remember, when you're doing this with the magnifying glass, it's not going to look perfect, especially if you're doing it by hand, because you're seeing it so close. But I challenge you, especially if you're a perfectionist and you're like, oh, well, I can't get it perfect. Take a look at your factory figures under the magnifying glass, and they will no longer look perfect to you because there are tons of flaws in all of these figures. It's just that we're looking at them from slightly far away. So don't judge yourself too harshly when you're looking here under the magnifying glass, because if you're looking at it from an action figure standpoint, where it's, at arm's length most of the time, it's going to end up looking just fine. Here we go. I'm just going to try my best to trim down the hair on the sides, because he's basically got it shaved in the new images. And oh, it's blue underneath, so we're going to have to paint it anyway. So that's just fine. I'm going to try and get rid, because his hair is just long, so I'm going to try and get rid of the sideburns here and trim just up from the ears. And I'm excited because it's going to make him look just different from the other version, which I think is great. That's what I want. I don't want him to look the same. So I'm just going to go through and trim this down. And I think it's going to look pretty cool, despite what my brother says. I think it's about time to put this guy together. Here's how he looks without the jacket. Everything's looking good. That hair turned out really nice. Here is his jacket. Let's go ahead and put the two together. Now, I think he's turned out pretty well, but one thing, the gunmetal I think is a little bit too shiny for me. I would have done it differently at this point. I would have painted him black and then done the gunmetal maybe over the top to lighten him up. But as it stands, he looks cool. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of this wash and I'm just going to accent his muscles like I've done with some of the other characters. I think that that's going to just help to define things a little bit more and kind of cut down a little bit on this gunmetal shine. Just give it some areas to kind of bleed into. And I did it here on the jacket, and the darkness in the jacket I think looks really nice. So yeah, I'm just going to go through and do that, and that's how we will end this guy. And then we'll see what my brother thinks of the hair. All right, David, what do you think of his hair?
Okay, I have to admit, I knew when you were cutting the hair away that you had a vision for it. And I could kind of see where you were going, but it was tough because it was all blue hair, so it was weird. But now seeing it all painted, I have to admit you were 100% right. It looks good. You can't really tell. And, I mean, you really have to look. But, I mean, you did a great job, so I was wrong. I admit it. I was wrong.
So we got the seal of approval. Jon Kent is done. Now, I like how he turned out. The jacket looks more like a coat. But it was a really fun experiment, and I think he looks pretty dang cool. It's not perfect based off what his new costume is because it actually goes across the S. This is more what Connor's jacket looks like, but still, I love how he turned out. I think he's going to be an awesome alternate version of Jon Kent because I love Jon Kent. I love that he's got his own comics. I love that he's Superman, and I love that they've really delved into having some of these legacy characters. So I love this version of Superman. I'm excited to see where the comics go. Remember, thank you guys for watching. Subscribe, tell your friends if they're into, any action figure customization stuff. And if you want to check out any of my novels, go to StephenHuman.com. I am Stephen Human, and this is Superhuman Customs.